Well, howdy, friends. If there's one dessert that just screams comfort, warmth, pure, simple joy, it has to be a good old cherry cobbler. It's the kind of treat that makes you want to pull up a chair, grab a big spoon, and just forget about the world for a little while. I've made more cobblers than I can count out here on the ranch. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like the smell of sweet cherries and buttery batter baking away in the oven. It fills the whole house with a promise of something wonderful to come. It's a hug in a bowl, a sweet memory in the making, and just plain delicious. This isn't one of those fussy, complicated desserts that requires a million steps and a degree in pastry arts. Oh no, this cherry cobbler is for everyone. It's for the seasoned bakers and for those of you who are just dipping your toes into the wonderful world of home baking. The beauty of a cobbler is its rustic charm. It doesn't have to be perfect to be absolutely divine. In fact, the messier it looks with that glorious fruit bubbling up around the edges, the better it tastes. I'm going to walk you through this recipe step by step, and I promise it's so easy. You'll wonder why you haven't been making it your whole life. We're using simple, everyday ingredients that you probably already have sitting in your pantry and fridge right this very minute. Think of it as a little kitchen adventure, a fun project that ends with the most rewarding, soul-satisfying dessert you can imagine. We're going to turn a few basic staples into a masterpiece of fruity, cakey goodness. It's pure magic, I tell you. So, roll up your sleeves and let's get ready to make something truly special together. Before we dive in, just picture it. A warm, bubbly pan, sweet and tangy cherries, nestled under a golden, tender, cake-like topping. Now imagine a big scoop of that warm cobbler in a bowl, maybe with a dollop of vanilla ice cream melting right over the top. Are you with me? Good. That's the dream we're about to make a reality. It's the perfect dessert for a family dinner, a potluck with friends, or just a quiet Tuesday night when you deserve a little treat. This isn't just a recipe, it's an invitation to create a little happiness in your own kitchen. All right, let's gather up our supplies. Think of this as our pre-baking huddle. First things first, the star of the show. The cherries. You'll need about 4 cups of pitted cherries. You can use fresh ones if they're in season, which is just heavenly. But frozen cherries work beautifully too. No need to even thaw them. For the batter, we'll need 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of whole milk. See? I told you this was easy. We'll also need 1 stick, which is a ½ cup of salted butter. That's it for the main players. Now for our supporting cast of ingredients. To give our batter that lovely lift and flavor, we're going to need 1½ teaspoons of baking powder and just a little pinch of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon. For our cherry filling, if you're using fresh or frozen cherries, you'll want to toss them with about a ½ cup of sugar. A tiny splash of vanilla extract, maybe a ½ teaspoon in the batter, is also a lovely touch, but totally optional. Let's talk tools. No fancy gadgets required here, I promise. You'll need a good-sized mixing bowl for whipping up the batter and a whisk or a wooden spoon to mix it all together. For baking, my absolute favorite is an 8x8-inch baking pan. But a 9-inch round cake pan, or even a trusty cast iron skillet, works wonders and gives it that extra rustic flair. You'll also need some measuring cups and spoons to make sure we get our proportions just right. That's it. Your kitchen is now officially ready for cobbler action. One last thing before we get our hands dirty. Make sure your oven is preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. It's always a good idea to get that oven nice and hot before your cobbler goes in. Having all your ingredients measured out and your tools ready to go is what the fancy chefs call mise en place. I just call it being organized so you can have more fun and less stress while you bake. Now let's get to the good part. Okay, here we go. The first and most important step is to get our pan ready. Take that whole stick of salted butter and place it directly into your baking pan or skillet. Now pop that pan into your preheating oven. We're going to let that butter melt completely until it's sizzling and just starting to turn a little golden. This might sound a little strange, but trust me on this one. This melted butter bath is the foundation of our cobbler. It creates an unbelievably rich, buttery crust on the bottom and sides that is just to die for. Keep an eye on it, it only takes a few minutes. While that butter is melting into a glorious golden pool, let's whip up our simple batter. In your mixing bowl, combine the 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, the baking powder, and that little pinch of salt. Give it a quick whisk to mix all the dry ingredients together evenly. Now pour in the 1 cup of milk and the splash of vanilla extract if you're using it. Whisk everything together until the batter is smooth. Don't go crazy over mixing it. Just mix until you don't see any more big lumps of flour. It should be a fairly thin, pourable batter, kind of like pancake batter. Now for the fun part, carefully take your pan of melted butter out of the oven. Be sure to use an oven mitt because that pan is going to be super hot. Pour your prepared batter directly over the top of the melted butter. Do not, I repeat, do not stir it. Just pour it evenly over the butter and let it be. This is where the magic happens. As the cobbler bakes, this batter will rise up through the butter and around the cherries, creating that signature mottled cobblery top. The final step before baking is adding our star, the cherries. If you're using fresh or frozen cherries, make sure you've tossed them with that half cup of sugar. Now, gently spoon the cherries and all their glorious juices evenly over the top of the batter. Again, no stirring. Just let them settle on top. It might look like you're doing it all backward, but this is the secret. The heavier cherries will sink down into the batter as it bakes, while the lighter batter rises up to greet them. Now, your cobbler is assembled and ready for its fiery transformation. Slide that beauty into the 375-degree oven. Now that our cobbler is baking away, let's talk about a few little tips. If you're using fresh cherries, a cherry pitter is fantastic. But if you don't have one, you can pit them by placing a cherry on top of an empty bottle, then push the pit through with a chopstick. Let's chat about the batter. The key to a tender, cake-like cobbler topping is to not overmix the batter. When you mix flour with liquid, you start developing gluten. A little gluten is good, it gives the batter structure. But too much gluten, from overmixing, makes the topping tough and chewy. As soon as the ingredients are combined and the big lumps are gone, stop mixing. A few tiny lumps are better than a tough cobbler. Here's a tip for when it's baking. Bake about 40 to 50 minutes. It's done when the top is golden brown and the cherry filling is bubbling thickly around the edges. To be extra sure, insert a toothpick into the cakey part of the cobbler. If it comes out clean with a few moist crumbs, it's ready. To prevent juices from bubbling over, place your baking pan on a larger, foil-lined baking sheet. It catches drips and makes cleanup a breeze. Finally, get creative. Swap cherries for peaches or apples with a sprinkle of cinnamon. Try blueberries, raspberries, or blackberries. Add a little lemon zest or orange zest to brighten flavors. Play around and make this recipe your own. That's the joy of home cooking, making food your family loves. Baking should be fun, not rigid. Once that timer dings and your kitchen smells like an absolute dream, it's time for the big reveal. Carefully pull your magnificent creation out of the oven. Just look at it. The top should be a gorgeous landscape of golden brown cake with vibrant red cherry filling bubbling up like little volcanoes of joy. This is the moment to stand back and just admire your handiwork. You did it! I recommend letting the cobbler cool on a wire rack for at least 15 to 20 minutes before you serve it. This gives it a chance to set up a bit. Serving this beauty is the best part of the whole process. There are no neat slices here, folks. This is a dessert that demands to be scooped. Grab a big serving spoon and dive right in, making sure to get a generous portion of both the fruity bottom and the cakey top in every spoonful. The textures are just incredible together. The soft, tender cake, the sweet and slightly tart cherries, and that rich, buttery crust that formed on the bottom. It's a symphony of flavors and textures in every single bite. Now you can absolutely enjoy this cherry cobbler all on its own, warm from the pan. But if you want to take it from a 10 to a 20 on the deliciousness scale, you have to serve it with a scoop of creamy vanilla ice cream. The contrast between the warm, bubbly cobbler and the cold, melting ice cream is pure, unadulterated bliss. A dollop of sweetened whipped cream is also a fantastic option, or even just a little drizzle of heavy cream. It's all about what makes your heart sing. The very best way to enjoy this cobbler is by sharing it. Call the kids, wrangle your husband, or invite a friend over for a cup of coffee. Desserts like this are made for making memories. There's something so special about gathering around the table and sharing something you made with your own two hands. It tastes of love and care, and that's a flavor you just can't buy at a store. So go on, take that first bite and give yourself a big pat on the back. You've just made the easiest, most mind-blowingly delicious cherry cobbler on the planet, and I bet it won't be your last.